This is Maurice Jones-Drew, and you're listening to the What's Bruin Show.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, UCLA, fight.
You're listening to the What's Bruin Show, part of the What's Bruin Show Network, with your hosts, Jake Merrifield, Bill Shirley, Jamaal Artis, and Mike Regalado, bringing you anything and everything UCLA sports. And now, it's time for the What's Bruin Show.
Well, hello, and welcome to the What's Bruin Show. I am your host. Wait, you know what I almost said? I said I'm your host, Bill Shirley. But I'm not your host, Bill Shirley. I'm your host, Jake Merrifield. Wow, that's weird. But anyways, I'm your host, Jake Merrifield. I'm joined by my good buddy, Mike Regalado.
What's up, y'all?
From Bruin Report Online.
Mike Regalado.
Hi, bro.
That's a me.
Hi, bro.
Thank you. What's up?
And we're here on an MJ edition.
The ceiling is the roof.
The MJ edition.
Because Bill's got practice and Jamaal is in Arizona. Although Jamaal will join the show a little bit later, which is nice. It's always good to catch up with Jamaal. And this is the What's Bruin Show on the What's Bruin Show Network. So thank you very much. At What's Bruin Show on Twitter. What's Bruin Show at gmail.com on the email. And we've got some emails today for you. We also have some Slack comments, I believe. And you can get on the Slack by subscribing to the show at patreon.com/whatsbruinshow or at whatsbruin.substack.com. And if you join the Slack for how much, Mike?
$2.
The Patreon, I should say. $2, or it's a little more on the Substack, whatever their default is. I think it's like $80, $90 a year or something, or $5 a month or something like that. But you can get access to some bonus content. We appreciate your support on that. Also, if I didn't already say it, subscribe on YouTube, What's Bruin Show. We're now putting every show up that What's Bruin does on the with a slideshow on YouTube, and we've got a bunch of new subscribers this week, which I am real excited about. But keep subscribing and thumbs up it and all that good stuff. But also, you can get What's Bruin Show merch. Look in the show notes of this podcast for the link. It's a goofy web address, but it's on mylocker.net. So go there. And Seamus just bought a mug and a sweater, I believe, and he said that it came out really nice. So really appreciate that, Shame Dog. And also, lastly, you can so subscribe on YouTube and buy some merch. But also, you can call the What's Bruin Hotline. And the What's Bruin Hotline has been hot the last couple of weeks because, number one, everybody was pissed about Utah. Mm-hmm. We got a bunch of calls. Mm-hmm. But then everybody was excited about OSU. Mm-hmm. Or, I mean, not OSU, WSU, Washington State. Got them Cougs. Mm-hmm. And so we got a bunch more calls. Mm-hmm. And now everybody's excited about OSU, the Beavs, right? Nice beaver.
Nice beaver.
Mm-hmm. And guess what? Now we got a bunch more calls about that. So the hotline is 805-399-4WBS. Sacramento Troy.
Yes.
How'd you enjoy that Arizona USC game over the weekend, Mike? Did you watch any?
I did, and this is aside from it being kind of a shocking game. It's funny. Earlier in the day, my daughter Violet said, "Dad, you have you do a dad clap whenever you cheer." I'm like, "What are you talking about, a dad clap?" I'm like, she goes, "Yeah, you go, huh." I'm like, "What? Whatever."
Wow, Mike.
During the Arizona USC game, apparently I did that so many times. She goes, "That's it. That's your dad clap." After like something happened, I'm like, "Okay, I can see that."
That's funny. Well, for most of that game,
something like that. I'm like, "Oh, okay, got it."
Good job, Mikey. Well, for most of that game, we got the Penguin and Troy doing this.
USC, do not, no, bad USC, no.
But by the end of the game, the Wildcats just kind of spit the bit, threw up with themselves, whatever. And I was left with this feeling.
Arizona can go fuck themselves.
Wow.
Yeah, you almost had it, but then you didn't. Thanks a lot, Arizona. But whatever. The Trojans live on to fight another day. Mm-hmm. And that'll be that. So, call the hotline, 805-399-4WBS. Thank you. And let's get on with the show because we got a lot. I mean, this might end up being two shows because, gosh darn it, we did like 2 hours last week, I want to say, Mike.
Wow.
On a bye week or maybe the week before. And this is shaping up to be a big, long ass show. So let's get right to the Bro-Filiated Headlines with our man, Mike.
Well, I'm going to make this real quick because this is the basketball talk, and we kind of have to talk about the basketball talk.
The basketball shows for as long as
possible.
Want to avoid them as long as possible.
It's coming. You know, Pac-12 Media Day was in Vegas for the women of the Pac-12 today on Tuesday. Wednesday, it's the men's turn, and we got a few predictions coming out from the men. Adem Bona was named to the first team media Pac-12 preseason all-conference list.
Just a baller, man.
And hasn't even played a second basketball with UCLA or in the United States, but Adai Mara got an honorable mention.
Straight baller.
As for
That's
the women, they were in both the media and the coaches preseason poll. They were selected to finish second in both of those, only behind Utah, which is weird because both The Athletic and ESPN came out with their top 25 preseason rankings, and UCLA is above Utah on that. So that's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting to watch.
They're above
this
Utah in
season.
those rankings, above all other Pac-12
Yeah,
teams?
I believe UCLA is. I can't remember. I think there were 3 in both of those polls, and Utah was 5th nationally.
So, Mikey, I've already allowed you to talk for basketball, men's and women's, for
Thank you, my liege.
a minute and 30 seconds. But with a
Forgive my insolence.
with a very dangerous, corollary here that you may get to the chopper in just a moment if it goes too long. But why are the Bruins supposed to be so good in the Pac-12 in women's basketball, Mike?
I'll make it really short.
Really quick,
First
or else-
off, you have Charisma Osborne coming back for her 5th year.
Okay, nice.
You have Gabriela Jaquez, Kiki Rice, and
He's just a baller, man.
London Jones coming back. They had great roles as freshmen. You have the forwards, Izzy Anstey, Emily Bessoir, who just kicked ass last year, and Angela Douglas. And they also have Lauren Betts, who's a transfer from Stanford.
Nice.
In 2022,
Oh, you know what?
Betts was the number 1 recruit in the nation. Kiki Rice was number 2. So Corey Close now has the 1 and 2 ranked prospects from that recruiting cycle in
Suck it, Stanford.
Yes, suck at Stanford.
on the roster.
So, okay, Mike.
Yeah, and lastly, funny
I hope
if
it's
you didn't
lastly.
ask me this question, I would have been done already, which is weird. But
Get to the chopper!
4 Bruins were named to the preseason Pac-12 all conference list. Obviously, you had Kiki Rice and Charisma Osborne on the first team, with Emily Bessoir and Lauren Betts getting honorable mention. So,
Nice.
yeah, a lot of good stuff expected for UCLA's women's basketball team this season.
Mike, believe it or not, I have another follow-up question.
Get to the chopper, Jake.
Yeah, exactly.
Get to the chopper!
What are the odds of us getting friend of the show Corey Close back onto the What's Bruin show airwaves between now and when the
I'll look
season
into
gets
it.
full swing?
I'll
Let's
look
go,
into it.
Mike. Come on.
All right,
Get it done.
Do it.
We want Corey Close back on.
Get it on.
Thank you.
I'll work on it. Okay, cool. And those are the Bro-Filiated Headlines with this guy.
Blue 32! Blue 32! California! California! Hood! Hey! Football!
The game that was.
So, Mikey, UCLA beats Washington State University. Beat those Cougs 25-17.
They beat a ranked team?
Yeah. Oh,
Wow,
yeah. They beat them. And now they're ranked. Look at how that works.
Nice.
It's pretty cool.
And not just ranked. They were about 30th. I think they had 30th most votes received. So basically going from 30 to 18, jumping 12 spots.
That's good.
That's hardcore.
And they deserve to because
Yeah.
they beat what looked like a pretty quality team. But anyways, UCLA beats the Cougs in what was a rather frustrating experience at the Rose Bowl until it wasn't. But one thing was consistent, that gosh darn defense. We'll talk about that in a minute. But it was a great time out of the Rose Bowl, or at least it turned out to be a great time at the Rose Bowl. It was a little hot. There weren't that many people there. But if you want to know what my thoughts were, I did a post-game on Sunday morning, and I gave you an hour of post-game talk. A solid hour, maybe a little bit more. And Bill joined the show. His thoughts are on there. And I'm humble brag here, but I think brings you the most balanced post-game talk that you're going to get from a UCLA game, right?
Yep.
It's not just I think that's what we could say. It's balanced, and there's a lot there. We get some phone calls in, we get some analysis in. Sometimes we get a guest in, but I think that you're missing out if you're not listening to the What's Bruin post-game that comes to you roughly, the morning of the day after the game.
Yeah.
So with that being said, though, Mike, you are generally doing stuff for Bruin Report Online.
Yes.
During the weekend. So you haven't had your chance to talk about the game other than in your 2-minute drill that we could see on Twitter, I imagine. Do you do a 2-minute drill before?
I do a 1-minute drill. It's just my intro to just a quick briefing about what's going to happen as I walk into the game.
And then, I mean, I guess my question was, do you
It's
do
only
it
1 minute.
after,
It's
is
only
what I
1
wanna
minute.
say. Yeah.
Afterwards, I do that's my main 2-minute drill, and then
Yeah.
I have my midweek 2-minute drill, which I usually do before or after we record here.
Let's go, Mike.
Hi, bro.
It's perfect timing. Basically, halfway between the last game and the next game. So yeah,
And
so I do
Mike's,
that.
however long they are, drills are endorsed by none other than UCLA athletic director Martin Drummond.
Yes,
Isn't
this
that right?
is true. This is true.
Yeah.
This is true. Got confirmation. A source told me this. But yeah, no. So that's just my little, quick thoughts. And obviously, there's only so much you can do in 2 minutes. So here we go. I have about an hour. I'm going to use all of it. I'm just kidding. I'm going to get to the chopper. It was,
Mike, what'd you think about the game?
Pretty much every halftime at the Rose Bowl, if I know Jake is there, I go down to talk to him for one, just to get his perspective.
Yeah, and I just found you
because-
wandering along
I
the
know,
concourse.
we didn't
even hook up. It just was fate.
It was like, oh, hey, what's going on? And it's like the last 2 games, you've been like, look, it's this and this and this, and this happened because of this and this and this. And that's like, it gives me a different perspective. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, okay. Let's see if they do that in the second half. Primarily, I think we were talking about the offense. It's just kind of like stuck in second gear. It's like it's going.
I think it's a good way to describe it.
It's
Mike.
going, but it's not getting to the next gear. You
Yeah.
know, it couple drives, it gets into third gear, kind of gets going, and you have some good plays. Obviously Keegan Jones had those 2 touchdowns, which was funny at the when we asked. Carson Steele, what was the name of that play? Obviously, I didn't expect him to tell us what the name of that play was, but he goes, you know what? I should just be called touchdown because it was I'm like, dude, that was pretty funny.
Are you talking about Keegan Jones? play?
About Keegan Jones's
Yeah.
2 plays. It was basically he ran out of the slot, took the handoff, and ran in for 2 touchdowns.
Led by Colson Yangoff. Thank you very much.
Exactly. Great lead blocker. So things just kind of opened up a little bit in the second half. So that was good to see. Not that Dante Moore was struggling the entire game, but obviously UCLA under Chip Kelly has really been dependent on the run game, and they started to do that. It seemed like a little bit more. It was at least a little bit more successful than it was against Utah, because actually Utah has a really good defensive line. Washington State not as good as Utah, so UCLA was able to get around that. But
What is a ute?
Dante Moore still has some growing pains. I thought maybe they should try to go with a more experienced Ethan Garbers or Colin Schlee.
Wow, you wanted to pull Dante Moore. Like, I didn't go that far.
I was thinking about it.
Holy
I
shit.
was like, is it Schlee time? Maybe.
Do you want more?
But you know what?
Mike says no.
Someone, I
Headline.
think it was on Twitter that someone said, you know what? Chip Kelly does. He has his favorites, and he's gonna stick with Dante Moore, and he did. And good.
Did
thing.
anybody ask him about possibly like I think I said this on the postgame is like, Mike, I don't think that you could put Garbers in because then that kind of creates a quarterback controversy if Garbers does well, which I mean, whatever, it's supposed to be for the good of the team.
Yeah.
But you could see how there's a straight line there. But I don't think that if he put Schlee in there to do something like a special, like I was lamenting this to Chris Osgood, since the game happened, on our little chat, and I was like, just give me a little bit of the Schlee package.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I want. It's kind of
Yeah.
like how Oregon State, the Beavers last year had Jack Coletto. I don't think if you put Schlee in there for a couple plays situationally, like if you put him in there against Utah when you're about to run that stupid option, or if you put him in there when you're inside the 5-yard line at the end of the half, just as a kind of a change up, maybe to either score or get a little bit closer. I don't think there's any buddy that's going to connect the dots going, oh, well, you put Schlee in there for a minute and he scored a touchdown. Oh my gosh, he's a threat to Dante Moore.
Yeah.
Like if that's what this is about,
Yeah.
give me a little Schlee, Mike.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry to
Because I
interrupt
mean, he what we've seen from Ethan Garbers this year, in my opinion, he struggled a little bit, but I think overall he was more successful than he had failures. What we've seen from Schlee, he just was a baller every time.
Except when he threw the ball.
Yeah, true. He used his legs, but I would like to see something a little bit, but Chip Kelly stayed with Dante Moore, and that was a good thing. And this is the crazy thing, because especially in the last two seasons, I was very excited to see UCLA on the field, their offense on the field, because they were just a well-oiled machine that just got down the field. It's different this year, and it's so bizarre because when I went back to look at the game film, I was more excited to see the defense. Just what they were doing, how they were doing a lot of mix-ups with their front seven, and the fact that the defensive backs, different guys are popping up every week, and this is fabulous. It is just so great. Like, just remembering what I saw from the offense, I kind of breezed through like the first half. I was like, I know what happens here. Second half, I paid a little bit more attention because I wanted to see how the formations and how successful the run game was. But though I was just waiting for the defense to come up, and it's I was kind of giddy about it. I was like, this is just fantastic how they're showing different blitz, how they'll drop not drop, how they'll have like 5 guys on the line, and then at the last moment they'll drop 2 or something like that, and you have no idea who's going to drop. And for the most part,
did maybe they call it? Were people calling it like the amoeba defense that I coined like 5 years ago and I get no credit for?
Well, you said the amoeba offense.
No.
Yeah.
Was I
under Mora? Yeah, it was the amoeba offense.
No, it was amoeba defense too.
I'll find. I don't want to find. That was
You're never going to find
that was
it.
like 80 years ago.
Your computer crashed. You'll never be able to prove it.
This
Pal.
is like 3 computers ago. But yeah, just the fact that they're only rushing. Yeah, a lot of the time they were only rushing 3 guys and still getting at the quarterback or pressuring or disrupting. And then the fact that
I was amazed. They actually let's say that I think they rushed 3 probably like 12 times.
Yeah,
they got pressure on like 6 or 7 of them.
Yeah,
and they got an interception at sack too.
Yeah, and just little things. How you have the interior linemen. I think at one point I saw Gary Smith, who wasn't lined up with the center. He was more in the B gap, like shoulder to shoulder with the guard and the tackle, which pulled the other defensive linemen kind of closer so that they were technically the interior line. It was just stuff like that, and then the defensive line, going down in the 3-point stance, maybe 1 or 2 guys on first and second down. For the most part, on third down, almost everybody was standing up ready to attack or fall back or whatever it was. It was just what Danton Lynn is doing is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to.
I don't want to jinx it, but so far, yeah.
Danton Lynn, it's not rocket science. I think you're getting a lot of great play from a lot of dudes that are very motivated and that are talented, right? And you can't scheme up Liatu Latu. He's just really good. Jay Toya is playing
that
much
helps
better.
Too to have,
Jay Toya is playing much better than he was.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think schematically they're doing anything super duper unique or crazy. It's not like, oh my God, he brought all this NFL knowledge. No, it's like they're running stuff same stuff they've ran in the past, but there's some sort of special sauce of him getting these guys motivated, them having another year to develop, right, and it all coming to fruition. I talked about before the season started how the defense has gotten incrementally better every year, since they absolutely bottomed out, and they have. And we'll never know how mediocre or decent or possibly good they might have been if last year you wouldn't have gone through the really sad situation of hiring Bill McGovern and then having him get sick, right? But they were they were getting better, and then all of a sudden they kind of really dropped off. But they're certainly not as good as they were now.
No.
So but there's a lot of stuff that has come together to make this a really good defense this year, and Danton Lynn is certainly a big part of it. And I think they did find a special sort of coordinator. It looks like. But it's not just where he's putting the X's and O's. It's where he's doing that and how he's motivating these dudes and how these dudes are also just have gotten better and developed. But it's a great combination and it's great to see. Hopefully the offense can develop really quick and this can be a real special team.
Yeah, it's huge that they have so many returners, so many veteran players.
That is a very huge deal.
And like I said, you have guys that seem to be popping up. Every week. And these are guys that have been in the system, like you said, but there's just something about how Danton Lynn is kind of like letting them be a little bit more free, but at the same time, just doing something differently. It's kind of a different type of aggression. And maybe it's shifted a little bit from the front 7, back, but for the most part, it's pretty freaking effective. And, you're seeing guys like, who guys we know had talent, but Gabriel Murphy, who's him and Latu are the 2 highest graded edge rushers in the Pac-12, according to PFF. That's just huge. Kamari Ramsey, who's just killing it in the secondary. Every time the ball comes to him, he's like, it looks like he's disrupting it in some way or another. Oladejo's coming out of nowhere and fitting into the system. This is just fantastic. This is a very good stepping stone for UCLA going into the future. But right now, totally enjoying it, and I really like the fact that knowing how productive offenses were and quarterbacks were in the Pac-12, it was essential. This is something I thought about, and I should have brought it up, to make me sound smart like right now. But the fact that UCLA had the wherewithal to realize, hey, we have our offense. We're still going to figure it out with the new quarterback. But to win in this conference, you're going to have a good / great defense, and we're kind of seeing that. And this, I believe, is what's going to help UCLA be successful, maybe get to the Pac-12 championship. It's way too early for that right now. But to your point, I was talking to
so many games have to
talking
transpire.
to Chris Osgood on Saturday, and we were just talking about how obviously this is just a fantasy, but where would UCLA be if they had last year's offense with this year's defense? Let's say this year's defense was there last year. How far would UCLA get?
Oh, it'd be. No, I mean, they absolutely would have won, at least a few more games, and they'd be challenging in the national rankings, right? I mean, that's ridiculous, right?
And obviously, that's just like a mind game,
But it's crazy to think of that's how good UCLA's offense was last year, and that's how good UCLA's defense is so far this year.
It's crazy.
You can make the devil's advocate argument that really they've only played one really actually good offense. So, I mean, who knows where they would have been last year because they had to play Washington and Oregon. But, I mean, they beat Washington.
Yeah.
And they beat Utah. They got smoked by Oregon, and they got smoked by SC, and they played a subpar game against Arizona. But that loss to me was much more on the offense than the defense, So, you're going to give them at least 2 more wins.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and that would have put them in a conversation to do a lot of great things, at least win the Pac-12. And so, it's a shame that we have to think about what could have been last year.
Yeah.
But honestly, it just makes me more optimistic for this year because
exactly.
When you look at, and this will kind of put us into our next little topic here, but when you think about this defense this year and how well they're playing, you can say they've only played one actually good offense so far. And the second good offense they're going to play is going to be coming up this week. And Washington State was really good at passing the ball. The Bruins shut them down. Oregon State's going to be really good at running the ball, and we'll see. I mean, DJU's coming off his best passing performance of the year, but their strength is going to be running the ball, and it's going to be up at Corvallis, right? But that's going to be the only the second actually decent offensive team they will have played, right? But if the UCLA shows up and is able to corral the Beavers to an extent, I mean, that will be another data point. And wow, this is a really good defense. But I think after what they showed against Washington State, you can't help but lean towards they're a really good defense.
Yeah.
Whereas before Washington State, we're leaning against their really good defense, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's and the proof a little bit is in the pudding. But when you look at if they can get through this Beaver game and have a good performance, and hopefully they win too. But just talking about purely is the defense quote unquote good or not?
Yeah.
Once they get through this freaking Beaver game, I mean, they're going to have a chance to get, build up some pretty obnoxious stats, I think, leading into SC. Because after the Beavers, then they got Stanford, Colorado, Arizona, Arizona State. Colorado is an offensive team, but they're going to get mashed up by UCLA's defense because they got nothing in the middle. I don't think Shedeur Sanders, I really, I feel a little bit of a twinge in my heart for as much as he's going to get hit in that game, right? I don't think Colorado poses a big threat to the Bruins. Arizona, I think, of those 4 games, Stanford, Colorado, Arizona, Arizona State, poses the biggest threat offensively.
Especially at Arizona.
Yeah, at Arizona. That's going to be a tough day in the desert. But with the way this defense is playing, if they turn in the performance they did against Washington State and now they have a good performance against Oregon State, I think we'll feel a hell of a lot more confident going into Tucson.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because you're like, well, how bad could it be if your defense is going to be at that level, right? And by the way, that will be after performing at the level they did on the road at Rice Cycles, performing on the road as they hopefully do this week in Corvallis, and then going to Tucson now all of a sudden is like, well, it's a much better proposition for you having confidence in the defense. And if you have confidence in the defense, then you have to be like, well, hopefully the offense can do enough to get it done. And that's a look, you're never going to feel comfortable going to Tucson because of all the tragedies that have happened there for Bruin fans. But this will make us more confident than we would have been for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if the Bruins could survive this test against the freaking Beavers,
Nice beaver.
they really, they don't have nearly as many offenses they have to face this year as they did last year, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so, that.
Yeah, you don't get Oregon and Washington, so there's that.
Yeah, I mean, at least not until you make it to the Pac-12 title game, God willing, right? So we'll see.
Yeah.
Mikey, something that stuck out to me. speaking about the defense as well, and this is something that we talked about at the halftime when we ran into each other, walking on the concourse, very depressed about Washington State going into the freaking half of that game up 10-9 in just the most obnoxious bit of terrible circumstances of a football game.
Right after pick six.
It was just brutal. Brutal, absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
But my thought at halftime was, and like you were like, oh my God, everybody's getting fired, da, 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 da. And I was like, my God, if they lose this game, Chip Kelly's getting fired, da, 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 da. We were all there, right? But at the same time, I was looking at the scoreboard, I'm like, this is the most unfortunate bit of circumstances ever because they were dominating statistically. Dominating. And Washington State was lucky as hell to be up 10-9. And the worry I had is that they're not going to be able to hold Washington State down for a whole game.
Yeah.
And so if they're leading at halftime after playing the worst half of football they could possibly play, what does that mean for the Bruins? Well, it turns out that the Bruins, ended up finishing strong and holding them down the whole game. So that was good.
And technically, UCLA should have won by more because there were those 2 catches that were called back by the refs, which they looked clean. Those look like clean catches.
There was a lot of points left on the table with the Bruins that day. Yeah. But basically what I'm saying is at halftime, we were just like, oh, my God, this is the worst case scenario. Da, 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 da. They're never going to be able to win this game because they're trailing on scoreboard after all this stuff happened. But when you look at the halftime stats, like they really were dominating the Cougs. Mm-hmm. But my worry is that I didn't think they were going to be able to hold down the Cougs for the second half because the defense, if there's ever a point at which the defense is going to say double middle fingers, deuces to the offense, we're quitting on you. Yeah. It's the circumstances you had at that game. They play an amazing half, force turnovers, and you're still trailing because the offense is so incompetent. They can only muster whatever they mustered, like it was 9 points, right? Yeah. And you give away 10 to the other team.
Yeah.
The Bruin defense was responsible for 0 points in the first half. Mm-hmm. 0 points. The Bruins scored 9 and they gave up 9 on the offensive end, right? Through the turnover stuff. So I was really worried that the Bruin defense would be like, F you guys, we're going home. But they didn't. And I do think that speaks to the unity, the camaraderie, the coaching that this team does have. These guys are together and they're, battling through some pretty stiff adversity when you think about the experience they had at Utah, right? Basically, it's like you do so well in the non-con, everything's peaking. You have that last cupcake game against North Carolina
Eagles.
Yeah, was the Eagles?
North Carolina Central.
Yeah, Eagles. Yeah. Everything's going as well as it can, and then you run right into a wall of Utah and struggling on offense, and the defense plays valiantly, but they lose. And then you're in this battle with Washington State, once again, seemingly about to lose the same way.
Yeah.
But they didn't, and they stuck together, and I think that just speaks so well to the chemistry that this team has right now, and the possible mojo and what they can build on, because I said this in the postgame, it's possible that the Bruins will struggle to put points on the board for the rest of the season, but when I look at how good Moore played when the competition was lighter and how you think of most Bruin or just most freshman quarterbacks and how there is a learning curve there, but they do improve.
Yeah.
Moore's going to get better as the season goes on. Mm-hmm. And it's not like the running game is terrible. It's different than it was last year, but it's not terrible. It's not like they don't have receivers for Moore to throw to. So it's just if they can get that kind of ironed out, like they're going to start scoring points, and so it just really speaks well to what their future prospects are. Now, one other thing that I noticed about the Bruins in this last game, and Bill actually called it, and I told it, I was like, Bill, you're crazy when you asked for it last week, but Bill asked for a game in which they possessed the ball and held it away from Washington State. And I was like, Bill, you are crazy because right now the Bruins are 130th in the country in time of possession, and they actually possess the ball less than 25 minutes a game, which is absolutely, dreadful time of possession sakes. The Bruins were putting up points, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
The Bruins had the ball 38 minutes of this game.
That's awesome.
38 freaking minutes.
That's crazy.
And so I'm like, I really don't know what to expect going up to OSU. Like, are they going to do that again? And they ran close to 100 plays in this game.
Yeah. Which is interesting because I sent you that stat that since Jonathan Smith has taken over Oregon State, he is 21-13, I believe, when controlling time of possession.
Oh, interesting.
So if they control time of possession, that's probably not a good thing for UCLA.
Well, and that fits into what you imagine their mold is, right? Not necessarily quick strike scoring. It's they're possessing the ball, running the ball, running down your throat kind of thing. UCLA, although they have been a very dominant run offense under Kelly, it's been more of this, we're busting big plays, we're taking yards in chunks, we're running the ball 10, 12, 15 yards to carry, and then we're throwing it over the top, or throwing it down the seam or whatever. UCLA has been that offense for most of the season until we got to Utah, and they just absolutely ran into a wall. But then against Washington State, it was just grind it out.
Yeah.
And certainly they left points on the table, as we had talked about. But I don't know what to think going into the OSU game, which we'll get to in a few minutes. Like, are they going to try to possess the ball more? Is this kind of more what they're going to do to protect? Do you want more Dante Moore? I'm really curious. But just FYI, breaking news is they went from being 130th in time of possession, under 25 minutes per game. In one game, they brought it all the way up to like 27 and a half minutes of possession because they possessed the ball for 38 goddamn minutes. It's crazy. Yeah. So now they're all the way up to like 114th in the country. It still isn't good, but like that's how big of a swing that was. That was a very unexpected turn of events for this game. So, once again, it speaks to Kelly doing a good job of coming up with game plans for these games and executing them. We a couple of years ago we were saying, and a refrain of our good friend Michael Hanna.
It's been a solid 28 hours or so of feeling myself.
Even when Kelly was doing good, he wasn't beating anybody of note, right?
Yeah.
They win the games they're supposed to win, and then they lose the games they're supposed to lose. Has been the knock on him. But
last year kind of helped out a little bit when they beat Utah and Washington.
That's what I'm saying, Mike. Is kind of what we're saying is, well, that narrative's turning. You beat Washington, you beat Utah, both ranked teams.
Utah, the eventual champion, Pac-12 champion.
I mean, and by the way, not just beat them, you beat their ass.
Yeah.
That was last year, not this year, unfortunately. And then this year, you have this setback against Utah, and by all means, you should have won the game, but you didn't. But now you come out and you have this really impressive performance against the Cougs. So I mean, now in 2 years, he's got 3 wins over ranked opponents, and he's got some more on the schedule coming up.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll see how it goes. Mikey.
Yeah.
Last little bit here I want to talk about before I move on to the game that will be against the Beebs. The Beebs. Not Justin Bieber. They're not playing Justin Bieber.
Nice beaver.
Playing the Beebs. Is our friend Dante Moore. And, Dante Moore. And the UCLA offensive line. Since that Utah game, they have both been slandered to a great degree.
Yeah.
We're feeling very good about Dante Moore after the non-con. And then since then, and by the way, his stats have kind of borne out that they haven't been nearly as good, right? So, I mean, there is an argument there. But then also all season long so far, because Moore has taken a few more sacks than DTR did last year, people have been complaining about how bad the offensive line is, right? Are either of them, quote-unquote, bad? Are they developing? Are they getting better? Do you have any hope? Like, where are we standing with all this stuff?
Well, it depends on what fan base you're talking, which UCLA fan base you're talking to. If it's the pro chippers, it's like, they got to work together. Tim Drevno's, working on this. Basically stuff that I say every week.
Well, I guess we know what camp to put you in.
I'm on the unbiased camp as a journalist. And then the other half is it's doom and gloom. It's like, my point is there is no middle ground, and that's not how anybody on either side should be looking at it. It's like, I think you should be looking at this as they're developing, because they actually did look pretty atrocious against Utah. They looked a lot better, against Washington State, especially in the second half. There was just more protection, the left side, in my opinion, I thought they did, a lot better than they did against Utah. So I think it's just a slow progress, and they definitely have to get it together, because you need those points if the defense is going to do its job to stop opponents when they're on the field. You have to score. Obviously, more points you have over the other team. So I think it's whatever offense manages to score more points, they're going to win. They're going to win. So,
yeah. Well, I don't think you can talk about Dante Moore struggling without talking about the offensive line struggling, a bit. Although I think it's well overstated to what a lot of the other Bruin podcasts will say. And what a lot, nationally, the story is Moore is just not very good right now, right? And I don't think you could say that about him either, right?
No.
He struggled. He's not playing as well in the conference games as he did in the non-conference games.
He's learning.
He went from in the conference games, in the non-conference games, he had 7 touchdowns and 1 interception, and now in conference, he's 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, right? 2 pick six to the house. He's responsible for more points for
Gotta stop those.
He's responsible for more points for the opponent than he is for the Bruins as far as like throwing touchdowns. That's not good. Like, we definitely want to change that.
Yeah.
But could you agree that Moore definitely looked better against the Beavs? Where's my Beavs drop?
Nice
No, not
beaver.
Beavs. I'm sorry, the Cougs. Looked better against the Cougs than against the Utes.
Did you say Utes?
Definitely, right? And I think we also could say that the Ute defense is much better than the Washington State
better,
defense, right?
yes.
Although Washington's defense wasn't terrible by any means, right?
No.
But he definitely improved there a little bit. And by the way, it kind of helps that he was at home as opposed to on the road in a hostile environment. We'll see how that goes when he does go up to face the Beavs.
That's going to be interesting, yeah.
Yeah. But the other part of it, too, is like going to the offensive line. They're still, being a very successful run-blocking team. And by the way, they're not blocking for Zach Charbonnet anymore. Yeah. They're blocking for a couple backs that are pretty darn good that we like. You're talking about my man of steel. You're talking about Harden, right? TJ Harden. And you're talking about our man, Mr. Jones, now who's in the fold.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that, you give the ball to Charbonnet and, like, he was an explosion waiting to happen.
Yeah.
You give the ball to DTR and, like, he's going to drop back, and half the time he's going to run down the field, 50 yards with his legs, and he's going to throw balls over top. He's going to hurdle people and all that stuff. Like, it's much different. Like, I think there's a little bit of a kind of like going from the non-con to the conference and playing, the bad defenses and then playing Utah. There's a little bit of a car crash kind of, the whiplash is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Kind of aspect of this, because you went from these guys that were fully developed to now guys that are less developed, right? It's just when people are saying that the offensive line is terrible based on their performance in Utah when they're on the road in that environment, and obviously there's communication issues and all that stuff. But if that's the only thing if that's what you're judging them off of, I think that's pretty short-sighted. I don't think they performed nearly as bad against Washington State at the Rose Bowl, and I think a lot of the malfunctions are not just the line and not just Moore, but a combination of them both. Both making kind of mistakes at the wrong moments. And then, by the way, the backs are responsible for some of this stuff. The receivers are responsible for some of this stuff. But I think that as Moore develops, the offensive line is going to look a lot better, because now all of a sudden he's not taking this drop back into the pocket, waiting forever to try to get the ball downfield. Maybe he's taking some of the shorter options first. Maybe he's seeing more to the field. We saw one of the adjustments that Chip made in the Washington State game is he gave him a lot less stuff on his plate to work with. Certainly, that's going to make him easier to defend as we go into this game against the Beavers, but hopefully it makes him a little more efficient too. I said this after the Utah game, but we can honestly say that Utah is the best defense they're going to face all season. Yeah. And when you talk about Washington State and Oregon State, these are the 2 best defenses they're going to face for the rest of the season from this point forward. And Washington State's kind of Washington State and Oregon State are both, by the stats right now, like middle of the pack defensive teams. And I think Oregon State's probably a little better than that. Washington State's probably, in there too. But after that, you got Arizona, USC, California, Colorado, and Stanford. Those are the worst teams in defense in the Pac-12, and pretty bad defenses nationally. So they, if Dante can get better facing these teams right now, the epic fail against Utah, he was struggling against Washington State, but then came through in the end. And now against Oregon State, he's got a big challenge on the road again. So does the line; they have a big challenge on the road. If they survive this, then it just it should get so much lighter and give him room to really develop some more. So they just got to survive against the Beavs. And we'll move on from there.
Yeah.
Do you think we drink too much?
No, we don't drink too much. Men face reality, women don't. That's why men need to drink.
I hate it when podcasters talk about what they're drinking.
What else am I going to drink, Bob? A fucking Fresca?
Well, thank you for joining the What's Bruin Symposium on the What's Bruin Show Network. We appreciate your support by joining Patreon. Patreon.com/whatsbruinshow or just whatsbruinshow.com. For how much, Mike?
$2.
Just $2 a month. You can send the What's Bruin Show into the future. You can also join on Substack and subscribe. whatsbruin.substack.com. I think it's a little more than $2 there. It's like $80 a year or something. I don't know what it is. But for both things, you get the same thing, and that is you get access to our Slack channel, which gets very lively on game days. You also get some extra pods that I will do during the week. During the fall, it's generally the Mallcast, where I just kind of give an extra thought on what's going on with the football season. In the football off season, sometimes you might get a What's Brewing After Dark, where me and Mike, or maybe Bill and Jamaal, are talking about all sorts of weirdness and whatever, stuff that has nothing to do with UCLA. But mainly, when you're subscribing on Patreon, you are supporting the What's Brewing show, an independent podcast in a sea of podcasters nowadays. We've been doing it for a while, but now there's a ton out there. And you're just saying, yeah, you want us to keep doing what we're doing. Also, right here, I'll tell you, the more you can subscribe to us on YouTube, just go to YouTube, search What's Brewing Show, subscribe to that channel and like that, or subscribe on any whatever podcasting thing you have, like it and review it. That always helps us out, and we appreciate your support. Now, on the Symposium, Mike, which is a conversation over drinks, I'm having a bottle that I just got. Sarah actually bought for me when she went on a trip out to the old 909. I actually have had some of this whiskey before. It's from a place called J. Riley in Redlands. And I had some of their first batches, and it tasted rather like a first batch. It was very, very raw, very young, as they say, kind of fire watery, kind of very, very tough to get down. This is a few years ago. But now they have released their 1775 whiskey, and it's corn, rye, malted barley, distilled in a bourbon mash, and it's 40% alcohol, 80 proof. And it's been aged 3 years. And let me tell you, this 1775 Riley whiskey was pretty darn good. I like it. For a local product, you can't get much worse, or can't get much better than this. Like this is really good whiskey. So if you're out in Redlands, go out to J. Riley and get yourself. I think it's a place you can eat too, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not positive about that, but anyways, good time. There's a lot of nice places out in Redlands to eat nowadays. Very hipstery. Mike, you'd love it out there.
Nice.
Go to Redlands. Yeah. But Mikey, what are you drinking?
I'm doubling down from last week because I left this one from the beers that you guys got me last week.
Birthday beers.
Doing the Pumpkin Haze IPA once again. I left that here and took all the other pumpkin fall spice ones you guys got me last week, and those are
how many of them were fall spice? I thought I only bought you the one fall spice. Was there more than one? If so, I apologize.
There were 3. Oh, don't apologize. They were all good. They were all good.
They were all fall spice?
This is the most pumpkin-y, spicy type of beer, but they all had a kind of like pumpkinish fall flavor. So
okay. Well,
I quite enjoyed them.
Okay, I'm good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Well, good.
So that's what I got.
All right. Well, good. Well, once again, like I said, subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe patreon.com for how much, Mike?
$2. Or
on the Substack for whatsbrewing.substack.com. And we appreciate your support. All right, let's bring Jamaal on for some Pac-12 talk. All right, we're here to talk a little bit of Pac-12, and of course, in doing that, we're going to bring on our good buddy Jamaal Artis from the desert out there in Tucson, Arizona.
Wow, two
Nice,
straight
Mike.
weeks of Arizona almost upsetting a top Pac-12 team. Boy, were they pissed on Monday.
Yeah,
they thought they had. They weren't mad on after the Washington game. I think they thought, hey, we were in the game. It was nice, moral victory. They were pissed on Monday on the local radio show. They were not happy.
Oh, God, yeah, I forgot you're in that market. Jesus.
Yeah. So Monday I actually listened, and they were not had the 2 guys. I don't know their names, but I listened to them because they come on right as I'm leaving work
Stratford
in the
and Waldorf?
afternoon.
That'd be sweet.
Drive time, and they were not happy. I mean, it wasn't like me after a Dodger playoff game. They just were like, if there had been some better play calling, if the defense had just stiffened up a little bit, that would have been an upset. They would have won that game. They really thought they were the better team in that game, but.
Yeah, you're talking about Zona taking SC to the wire, triple overtime, for goodness sakes, 43-41. Yeah, David Woods, the anarchist.
I'm a bomb-throwing anarchist now.
He did a dissertation on that on the Podcast of Champions this week, so if you want a good breakdown of that game, I would say go to our friend there. But yeah, I was watching that game, Jamaal, when after getting home from the UCLA game, and after turning off the Dodger game after half an inning, an inning and a half.
2 outs. I mean, I think after 2 outs, I was like, I'm out.
That's a whole nother level of depression or whatever. But so there was nothing to do. But I was rewatching the UCLA game on my iPad, and then I was like, love watching the Bearcats or the Bearcats.
Bearcats.
And
Wildcats.
No, Wildcats. Jeez, what is wrong with me?
Bearcats.
Bear down Wildcats.
Bear down Wildcats. Jesus Christ, Godfather's texting us again already. I was love watching the Wildcats, and I was hate watching the Trojans, and then texting with Raina Troy the whole way through. So that was quite a Saturday night experience. But that game was bonkers nuts. I will tell you this: what do you guys think of the new adjustments to overtime? It still pisses me off. I don't know why they have to go to 2 points so early. I hate the just going to just conversions, but it has thrown the coaches for it's made them like blow a gasket at this point.
Well, for that game, that's why they're upset. They were like, why weren't they going for 2 right away? And it's like, well, they went for 2, and they might have used their 2-point conversion play, their number 1. They can't use that again, which is kind of dumb. It's like, what do you mean can't use it again? Just do it again and see what happens. And they can't use it again, so because they had already done a 2-point conversion in regulation time when it was 28-26. So they were saying, it's like, why weren't they using that same play in overtime? Because they had already shown them their play. And so they were just kind of upset about the play calling.
I just think that in this way, it's following. Everybody says they don't want college football to turn into the NFL, and this is one of those areas in which I agree with it. NFL went from sudden death to the dumbest, most complicated overtime rules where everybody has to think about it over and over again. How does this work? How does this work? And college went from a wonderful, perfect overtime that made sense, and now it's like we're all like, okay, well, do they have to go for 2 now? I don't know. The coaches are confused. Even the people that are criticizing Jed the Fish, like when Woods was giving his dissertation.
I'm a bomb-throwing anarchist now.
He even got the rules wrong when he's trying to explain it. Like, he knows what it is. But, so it's like, it's so complicated, it's dumb, and it just makes it everything harder. And it's to what? To save in one game that happens every 4 years where they go past triple overtime? Who the F cares? Right. One of the greatest games of all time that I've ever been to live was UCLA in 96 or whatever, and that one went multiple overtimes. It was the first year of the overtime, and that's like, this is the greatest thing ever. Like, just let it go. It's not going to go that long, unlike, there's that one game, last year or the year before, which is pretty much the impetus for the stupid rule. But I hate that. I hate it.
Right. The reason I bring it, the reason I'm bringing up the USC thing, not just because I live here, but on air for our listeners, I got to apologize to Mike.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
What?
So Mike, when they hired what's his name from the Sooners? I'm sorry, Coach Riley.
Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, Lincoln Riley. They hired Lincoln Riley, and Mike's like, okay, he might get the offense going, but the defense isn't going to work. And I was like, Mike, it's USC. They can recruit defenders. They can get somebody to coach defense. They'll be fine. They got Caleb Williams. This is going to be a good team on both sides of the ball. This team sucks on defense. They are terrible on defense. They've been terrible on defense. Mike was right. How do you not? I don't understand. We're talking Pac-12. They're not our team. I could care less about that. But just the fact that every week we keep expecting them to sort of make the turn, and every week they seem to be getting worse. I mean, they shouldn't be giving up that many points to Arizona. I'm sorry. They're the better team. On paper, talent-wise, they are the better team. They shouldn't be giving that many points to Arizona.
I mean, to your point, too, yeah, it's Lincoln Riley. It's a second year. How have they not been able to put something together defensively? They have talent, but it's just, Alex Grinch. And, Lincoln Riley is still defending him in the media. So, hopefully he doesn't go anywhere. And also, to that extent, hashtag extend Lynn.
Yeah, dude. Hopefully they get gashed when they play UCLA. I'm fine with that. And, UCLA's awesome defense this year stays stiff up until then and stays healthy until then. But my gosh, Mike, you called it.
It is funny, though. like they're going on 2 straight games of allowing 41 points, but they didn't allow 41 points against Arizona. They only allowed, in regulation.
Yeah, they just throw it off, but even still.
Arizona got up 17-0 on them, and it was just obvious from the get-go of that game that they were just going to get gashed and gashed and gashed. But it is funny, there is a qualification here, and the SC's defense might actually – they're probably better than what we're saying now, but they're certainly worse than what anybody was hoping for, right? But against Colorado, they had the game won, and then they just get lazy and let them back in. Stanford, they completely put their foot down on Stanford. San Jose State, they allowed way too much offense, but it was late after they got up real big. So I wonder, this was the first, to your point, Jamaal, because I'm agreeing with you, but the Arizona game was the first game where I'm like, wow, these guys are really, really, really bad. And it's probably because it's the first time they've played an offense that really has a pulse. Because how they did against Stanford, Arizona State, Nevada, and San Jose State, they're not very good teams at all. So of course they're not going to, and they still managed to rack up yardage on the Trojan offense, right? Colorado is really good on the edges, but woefully overmatched on the inside. But they got hot, got on a heater, and scored going down the stretch. Arizona is like the first semi-decent team that they faced, though.
Yeah. So I mean, going to last week when I was saying, hey man, maybe there are quite a few teams here that are going to be on the top and they're going to war of attrition. I just feel like, man, Oregon and Washington, those are the two best teams. They've shown me that they can play on both sides of the ball. I don't know how long that'll last, but I mean, I can't put USC in that, in their category just because, I mean, it feels like a singular talent, as talented as they are, Caleb Williams is really the driver of that team. And so stating the obvious.
And you heard this, multiple places, but it's like last year, they're like 8-4, 7-5 without Williams, and this year they got at least a loss without Caleb Williams. I mean, and maybe more if you talk about how the Colorado game ended. I don't know, but yeah, this was the first game, and by the way, the first time they're playing like a semi-decent opponent that you're just like, wow, that defense really is just ugh. And by the way, Arizona came out and was playing really good and just shot themselves in the foot repeatedly, but it's rough.
Yeah.
So I think you're right, though, man. And when the Raina Troy is watching the Trojans right now, this is just a lot of this.
USC, do not. No.
Yeah. So,
no, bad USC.
And the Twitters were going crazy as I was trying to avoid the Dodger game. But, yeah, I saw that with the whole Coach Grinch there. So.
But, Jamaal, what do you think about your Golden Bears?
Oh, my God, so frustrating. They basically lost the game on two fourth down plays in the red zone. Because that's what it was. They lost, but they ended up they lost by 12, 52-40. Those two touchdowns, you take those away, and they win the game 40 to. They lost by 12, 40 to. I don't know. You
52.
Take away those four.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So no, they lost 52-40. But if you take away those two fourth quarter touchdowns that they gave up, if those had failed, they win the game. They win the game. They would have stiffened up. They win the game. It's so frustrating. I saw some stat. In the Pac-12, I think or maybe it's the nation, they're like 126th on defense and points given up and yards given up and like third down conversions. I mean, that was just a frustrating game because it really looked like they were going to go toe-to-toe with Oregon State. I think they're 21st in rushing overall in the nation, and part of that is that first game when they went crazy. In Gash, North Texas, but still, when Jaden Ott's healthy, they've shown that they can move the ball. Certainly, as a running team, they're one of the best in the nation. It's just so frustrating when you see what's happening on defense, and it's a shame because Justin Wilcox, is supposed to be a defensive guru. They've had good defenses in the past. Even with injuries and things like that, and it's always been the offense, and now they finally get an offense going and they can't get the defense going. So it's frustrating, especially because it was there. It would have been, they beat Arizona State, they would have beaten Oregon State, and just that much closer to bowl eligibility, and they kind of let one slip away at home.
Yeah, well, and it sucks too because now you look at Cal and you're looking down the barrel of at Utah versus SC, at Oregon versus Washington State. You get Stanford, but then at UCLA. So, I mean, really, you're looking at your favorite in one of those games.
Yes.
That's
much.
That's pretty rough. So then, with that being said, let's say Cal goes 4-8. I mean, are you firing Justin Wilcox? Who are you hoping for?
You kind of have to, but they're such, I feel like it's a broken record. They're in such flux when it comes to their athletic offices.
And going to the mighty ACC?
Yeah, they're going to the ACC, although it's feeling like every time there's an ACC game on, other than North Carolina, although they play with fire a lot, it seems to me that Cal might be able to contend, at least in the league, might a little bit more confidence on defense and just doing enough on offense. They might get 6 wins next year with a majority ACC schedule, but who knows?
No, I think that's absolutely true. I think there's no doubt about it. But the one thing, Jamaal, that I'm looking hopefully forward to, because we got some bad news today regarding UCLA's schedule, which is they changed it around. So next year, in the after Thanksgiving rivalry game, presumably against SC, we're going to be playing Fresno State the end of the year. So now instead of going up to on a weekender up to Cal, maybe going to wine country, enjoying the Bay Area, going to the wharf or whatever. Now, if we want to go on a road trip after Thanksgiving, it's to freaking Fresno.
Fres, yes.
Smelly Fresno. Huh?
It's like,
Yikes.
does anything epitomize the move from the culture of the Pac-12 to the majority of Big Ten country to we're also downgrading our non-con to instead of ending the season with Cal, we're ending it with freaking the Bulldogs, which oh god, it's just yucky. It's terrible.
Yikes.
So what I was going to say was, Jamaal, is hopefully where this all ends up at some point is we make whatever. Not next year's next year. We got to play Fresno State on November 30th, but maybe going forward in those an even year when SC is going to host Notre Dame and we need that last game filled. Maybe we can do a non-con with Cal until hopefully Cal and UCLA end up together again somewhere down the line.
Yeah, I think
would that be nice?
Good. That would be awesome. I mean, that's kind of what it's become these days. It used to be everybody finished with their rival, and yeah, it's a lot of times it has been UCLA and Cal more recently, and that would be awesome. Yeah, make it a Thanksgiving tradition. Call it California Thanksgiving Classic or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think hopefully the regents or whatever, maybe that's part of the. If we do have to pay you any calimony, maybe we make a condition of we have to play each other every couple years or something too. That'd be nice.
Yeah,
I'd take that.
Yeah, I'd take that.
It's going to be a while because a lot of the future schedules are already booked for at least for most teams the next 5, 6, 7 years.
But they're obviously not in stone because if you have to move a date from freaking early September to
I thought about
November,
that today. Yeah, exactly.
Like there's no way that team's definitely going to be
Do
locked
they play
in for
Hawaii next year?
And teams. And
they have
teams
Hawaii.
They're at
right?
Hawaii, so technically they can also add a fourth non-con.
You're right. They might add an extra non-con and also so they have right now as of now next year they have a bye week in 9/7 and 9/14 week, and whether or not they add a non-con or regardless, they're probably going to get a conference game in there, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Looking at how the schedule works, I don't know. I haven't done the math on that yet, but
Yeah.
we'll see how that. Go ahead,
these
Jamaal.
future games get canceled sometimes too, right?
Yeah,
Some of these teams just drop out and whatever.
That's why we were playing historically black colleges the last couple of years because stupid Michigan. So
Yeah.
which
so
it probably is better for the Bruins if that happened, but I mean in the long run. But
I don't know. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. I guess you're right, Jamaal. Before I let you go, we're both sad and depressed over the stupid Dodgers.
Yes.
Assuming that they don't win 3 in a row, which. Technically they could. If you listen to my cousin on Locked On Dodgers, he's like, hey, they haven't lost all 3 yet, so hey, still hope.
Sure.
But that's true. They could do that. But
Haley's comment comes around every once in a while too. So yeah.
Assuming that they don't though, and that is Clayton Kershaw's last action as a Dodger, right? I mean, do you think he's coming back on that?
I don't know. I mean, this might be enough to frustrate him. I mean, he keeps saying he's healthy, but it doesn't look very healthy. So if he goes out like that, then I don't know. I don't know why he would, because he can't pitch to the level that he'd like to. He can't pitch to the level where he could help this team win a championship.
I will say that's some of the meanest stuff that the sports godfather Jim Bendett's ever done to us, and that's sending us the Kershaw in the dugout picture while it's happening live. That was pretty rough.
Yeah. I ignore those. It was my son's birthday anyway, so I had to pay more attention to that. I mean, that helped me, right? I didn't have to sit there and worry. We got a little party going with family.
Yeah,
I didn't have to worry about what was going on after 15 minutes of the game. So just sat out. I was like, wow, I'm not nervous anymore. I can eat. Sat down, had me some tacos. Had a little bit of cake, and converse with the family, and
at least we have the Lakers coming to save us as far as in our LA sports calendar, so they're looking good. I can't wait for that.
I mean, that's a good thing about
Kings start on Wednesday. Thank you.
Whatever. Get out of here.
The good thing about sports is the Lakers
best time of year.
Well, but honestly, that's one of the things, right? If you're a Laker and a Dodger fan, it's like the Lakers lift you up and the Dodgers let you down. There's this very yin and yang.
Well, it depends on the time of year.
But I mean, sure, but still, I mean, I'm I'm 43, and the Lakers have won 11 titles. It's one every 4 years, basically. The Dodgers have only won 3. That's one every 100 years, or at least that's the way it feels, you know. So it's like, what are you gonna do, you know?
But you have to acknowledge that the Dodgers have been really, really good, just not in the playoffs. And so it's like one of these. It's one of those horrible things where it's like they give you so much hope only to pull it out from under you. So what would you rather have? Would you rather be, you know, the freaking White Sox every year, or would you rather
the Pirates,
be, you know, the Pirates or whatever? You know, would you rather be a team that just sucks, and you know, and never gives you anything good? At least we have, you know, a team that contends every year. But Jesus God, this is depressing.
But the problem is how
and the
bad
flameouts.
it is. I mean, it's the flameouts. It's almost as bad. That's the thing. It's not even like, you know, like we mentioned Kershaw, and even last night, it's like Bobby. It's like your 2 starting pitchers for game 1 and 2 only got a collective 4 outs. I mean, that's
brutal.
I mean,
That's
people
brutal.
were like, those are the things where like these stat people were saying is like it's never happened in Major League Baseball history.
Yeah.
You never had a player give up 5 runs on 5 consecutive hits. You know what I mean? It's like these things where it's like the really bad part is really bad. It's French infantry between 1940 and 1962. You know, it's not.
No, and I will say that I do hate baseball how they've done their playoffs. I mean, they went 100 years only having the 2 series, you know, and they were so protective of that. And then they finally decided to expand it. And you're like, oh, yeah, well, that's cool. I can get behind that. But they expanded with these idiotic 1-game playoffs, 3-game playoffs, 5-game series. It's like, just what? It's not like it's the NBA and it takes them a million years to complete these series. They play every other day at worst. And it's like, just let it go. Just play, you know, extend your series a little longer. Because now you have these teams, you know, the Braves were not in great shape until they had that comeback yesterday. You almost had both, you know, the front runners in the National League being 0-2 because they had, you know, took time off and come out cold. You know, it's just... It's just lame. What's the hurry, MLB? I know it's exactly what happened last year. So what's the hurry, MLB? Just make them 7-game series, for Christ's sakes. It's so dumb. I don't understand it. I'll never understand it.
I'll never understand it either. I don't know why. You know, they're the only ones who do it like that. Everybody else is like, you get, you know, it's best out of 7. That's just the way it should be. And these teams, they play so many series in a month. What's the difference between October? You know? Yeah.
I mean, if they're that concerned about it, just chop, you know, 10 games off the regular season and make it in the playoffs. But I mean, whatever. All right, Jamaal. Well, it's good to hear from you. I'm still, you know, Mike. We've got, you know, good news is that Mike is confirmed. He's going to Arizona.
Yep.
Yay!
I cannot confirm that I'm going yet, but I'm still daring to dream. But Mike, keep your head on a swivel because I think Leo's going to be out there. So just keep your head on a swivel. All right. And then Jamaal will be driving you around, I'm sure. Yes. Yeah, good.
I'll be happy to be.
Gotta find some proper Mexican food. Okay.
All right.
Oh God, do I have to find you vegan Mexican food?
No, not anymore. We've converted him. We've totally converted him.
This is an off-air topic.
He's good to go.
But honestly, like even when I ate meat years and years ago, I always defaulted to cheese enchilada plates. That's just my all-time favorite. I love
those are awesome.
Just fantastic, especially with really good refried beans and Spanish rice, Mexican rice, however they make it. But that's so good.
I know a place.
Excellent.
And their quote-unquote salad, which is basically shredded lettuce and Italian dressing. But yeah, I'm down.
With more cheese.
More cheese,
mas queso.
Exactly.
Mas queso.
All right, Jamaal, it's been great talking to you, and I'm sure we'll probably talk to you next week again. And hopefully we made it through this without getting a nasty gram from the Sports Godfather over all the mistakes we made. But we can hope for that. All right.
It's all right. Can't hurt me. Can't hurt me as much as the Dodgers hurt me.
Oh, God, that's so terrible. All right, Jamaal. We'll see you later.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Later.
All right, so this episode ended up being way too long, well over 2 hours. So we are going to cut it here, and we will come back with another episode that discusses the game that will be against Oregon State and the Beavers.
Nice beaver.
In part 2 of the What's Bruin Symposium, coming to you in the next episode in this feed. So please listen, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Patreon, patreon.com/whatsbruinshow, or Substack, Substack, whatsbruin.substack.com, and call the hotline, 805-399-4WBS. So next episode will be the game that will be against OSU, and also listener feedback and our What's Bruin. So thank you, and go Bruins.
Good evening.
Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
That was the What's Bruin Show.
Try us tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
It's gotta be in or out, Mom. In or out.
Well, I need the door closed.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Dude, Rob, we place a ball on the West Coast.
The final word is boob.